Hello, guys, and welcome back to our podcast, the PowerSpace Podcast. And my name is Zephania, and I'll be your host today. With me in studio, I have one of our young people from Africa and from Kenya. Today's topic is quite controversial for the young people. And today's topic is quite interesting because it's something and it's a topic that all of us as young people and people of all ages always look forward to having a good leader. And today in the studio, I have one of our young leaders, and he is a man or a young man of so many titles. Just allow me, Mr. Benson, to introduce you, and you will tell me whether the introduction quite fits you because you have a big heart. So Mr. Benson Kasuti, who is with me in the studio today, is a passionate leader and a transitional coach. He is a coach in training. Mr. Benson Kasuti, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the PowerSpace Podcast.
Thank you very much, Zephania. Even as we proceed with this session today, it's an honor to be here. And I'll start by asking our audience one question. So what is that one thing you've been trying to change? And what will happen if you know how to do it?
Does that apply to me?
Absolutely. You can be part of the audience as well.
Oh, but was it a rhetorical or I need to answer right now?
With the discussion going on, I'm sure the answers will just come by. And I'll be resonating the question again at the end, having an immersive of just what we'll be discussing today.
Thank you, Mr. Benson Kasuti, and we are quite honored to have you. So let's dive deep into today's conversation. And there is this phrase that says, the notion that says, I am a young person, I can't lead. I am a young person, I'm not fully grown to be a leader, or I don't have the voice of a leader, or I don't have what it takes to be a leader. Or maybe you could just tell us, what does it take, or how do I know I am a leader? Or how do I look at myself? Do I go to the mirror and look at myself and say, now, this is the leader? Or do I look at a person and say, he's a leader? Or just tell us.
Thank you, Mr. Zephania. It's interesting how youths usually tend to associate leadership with titles. I'll give you a story. Personally, I was brought up in a police camp.
Oh.
And I used to see how the police would salute at their superiors whenever they're given an instruction. Mark you me, this went on even if the superior was younger than the policeman being instructed. And it's funny how all the answers will always be yes, sir. You wouldn't question it. You wouldn't give your suggestion. Yours was just to follow orders.
Yes, sir.
And most probably that is what they were taught in the police camp training, Now, whenever you wake up and you get out of your bed, who tells you to do that?
My problems?
Yeah, that can be an answer, all right? But you realize that there are things that we do because they are part of us.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves doing it. You can't be praying the first thing you wake up. There are those who make their bed. All right, maybe just from the fact that when you come back in the evening, you want to find a place whereby it was neat. Okay, so we find ourselves leading ourselves personally from things we do on a daily basis. Do you have the title of the chief bed maker when you make up? When you wake up, sorry.
Not really.
Yeah, so how comes when we are given that opportunity to lead in other fields and sectors, we tend to resonate and give it a title? That is usually not the case.
So, just to cut you short, If I'm getting you right, you're saying leadership is not about titles.
Absolutely right.
Ooh.
Leadership is not titles. You find yourself leading in everyday scenarios. You're walking, you see something that is not right, you chip in and give a solution to that. No one told you to, because you realize, no, it's something that needs to be done. You go somewhere, you find little kids are just in a congestion and there might be a eruption, and unconsciously you find yourself telling them, kindly make a line so that there can be order here. Do you have a title for you to do that?
No.
Not really. Leadership does not have a title. We start by first leading ourselves before finding that opportunity and the chances out here to also lead others.
Oh, now that you've brought up something very, very important, that leadership does not have a title. And I beg to ask another question here in line with that. Does leadership have an age limit? When do I say now I'm 35 years, now I can lead? I'm 20 years, I can lead. Or when do I know it's now my right age or it's my right time to lead?
That's interesting. We grew up being told, we are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of tomorrow. And I usually ask myself, when will this tomorrow reach? When will this tomorrow reach? Just from kindergarten, you'll find that you might be elected, nominated to be the monitor or the prefect. You are elected to be the dorm captain. You're elected to be the school captain, in that order. This is just a community whereby you find yourself leading at a very tender age. All right? Now, if you have that notion that you are the leader of tomorrow, it will cocoon, it will give a flog and make you feel like there is a specific age that you need to reach before you start leading. That is usually not the case.
So you're saying at my tender age, I am a leader. I can't be a leader at 7 years. I can't be a leader at 15 years. I can't be a leader at 20 years.
Now, I'll take you back to the definition of the term leadership. Leadership means inspiring, transforming people or influencing them to come to a certain goal.
Okay.
So maybe your goal at that moment is finish your junior school and join senior school. Or maybe your goal at that moment is mobilizing people to go for game drive, or mobilizing people to do a community engagement somewhere. It doesn't matter the title you give that. But as long as you find yourself influencing them to do that, as long as you find yourself showing them how to do it, most probably the most effective way is you doing it as they see and follow. That qualifies you to be a leader.
To be a leader.
Yes.
So I am a leader because I am influencing people towards a certain goal. And now, assuming that I become a leader, I am a leader as Zephaniah. And the goal here is to get somewhere with these people that I'm leading. Now, the people here expect me to have all the answers towards that direction. Now, what happens if I feel like I don't have all the answers and these people are expecting me to show them? What happens? Am I still a leader or am I incompetent as a leader?
Now, in terms of leadership, you'll find yourself in scenario whereby you need to give the final view or the final say. However, realize that your perspective is different from another person. I'll give you an instance of where I'm working. We usually tend to, gauge people in terms of what we call the colors. So we have somebody who is a yellow.
Oh.
We have somebody who is a blue.
Okay.
We have somebody who is a green.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is somebody who is a red.
Okay.
So these are what the different colors mean.
Mm-hmm.
A yellow is somebody who is spontaneous, bubbly, live.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will say, we need to do this, let's just do it. He won't matter to confirm things like we need structure, what is the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
A red person is somebody who is goal-oriented. I need this thing done by 12 p.m. Even if it doesn't matter how you're going to do it. Even if it means transnighting, so long as the work is done, let it be done. A blue person is the person who needs structure and needs step.
Okay.
A step in what he does.
So he says, we are going from here to here to here to here. Yes. So that's a blue person. And
that is, the blend is what makes the community thrive.
Okay.
You'll find in that blend, there is an MC. There is one who will say, no, we said we are starting from 2 to 3. Let's stick to that timeline. And there is another one who will say, we need this done by this day. So if we go astray, we'll find ourselves not achieving that. So to answer your question, do you really need to have all the answers? The question is no. Remember when I said leading doesn't mean people are following your back. You're going with them.
Oh, so I need to be with them.
A good leader does not pull. A good leader pushes.
Oh.
What I mean by that is, when you show them by examples. You collaborate with them. You ask them, what can we do better at this point to ensure that whatever we do is in line with what each and every one of us here expect, because we said we are focusing on the same goal. This same goal is not your goal. This same goal is the same goal of the community, of the society, or the place where you find yourself you're leading.
It's our goal.
It is our goal, not my goal.
So I'm not leading you to achieve your goal, and I'm not leading you to achieve my goal. I'm leading you to achieve our goal.
We are leading each other with our talents. I'm using my talent and strength. You're using your talents and strength to ensure that that goal is a we product and not an I product.
It's not I. Now, that is interesting. In leadership, now we have to change the phrases from I to we. Sometimes we find it hard. As a young person, you find it hard. And with that, I'm going to something interesting about personalities. And someone was telling me another day, we were discussing about leadership, and he told me a leader needs to be an extrovert. Is it really something to look at when you're saying that he's a leader because he's an extrovert? Or can we have a leader who is an extrovert and another leader who is an introvert?
Now, let's use this scenario. You're going somewhere. You need to get in. At the door, you try to knock. Somebody is supposed to open, but it's not being opened. All right? You find yourself agitated and you try to push yourself through. Or you can even try to just bombard yourself to the door so that it can open.
It has to open.
It has to open. So you've already tailor-made your mind and say that these things, I need to be inside. Okay? What if you take a step back and ask yourself, number one, is this the right door? Or number two, what if I had the key? Because there's a keyhole.
Okay.
What if I use that key and open that door? Or what if what all you need to do is just to unlock the key node and the door will open? This is the same scenario whereby we find ourselves in a leadership positions as well. It starts with you and your self-awareness. Why is that? There are things that you need to achieve at a personal level or at a level where you are, maybe your place of work or just school. and you've given yourself goals. So you find yourself trying so hard to achieve them, but it doesn't work because you haven't taken a step back and asked yourself the right questions. What are the things that I need for this? Now, in a place whereby you're leading, let's say you're a leader at your place of work, you're being frustrated because your colleagues are not in line with what you want. Okay? And this frustration makes you quit your job. You go to another place, you're also employed. The same frustration happens again because it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The colleagues are not in line with what you want. Now, what if you take a step back and ask yourself, what is bringing that frustration? Is it because the work is not aligned with my passion? Is it because the work is not aligned with my talents? Or I don't have the enthusiasm and the skills to be where I am? If you don't ask yourself those questions, you will find yourself feeling frustrated, clouded, and also not functioning well. That doesn't mean because you are an introvert, you can't be a leader, or an extrovert, you can't be a leader. There are places whereby an introvert will lead well, maybe because some of the characteristics of that place, it needs some people who are reserved and just work at their own cocoons and corner. Some other places you'll find yourself, it needs somebody who is bubbly, like an MC,
Yeah.
You're controlling the masses at an audience or at a concert.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who is calm and reserved won't be in a position to control that masses like the person who is an extrovert. So you as a leader, it doesn't matter the personality that you have, an introvert or an extrovert. The skills are beneficial and they're important in the place. So you need to look at the skills, you need to look at the talent and the place whereby you position yourself to ensure that it's not something that you feel burnt out and not in a position to.
Oh, that's nice. So, in short, Mr. Kasuti, you're saying there is an indoor leader and an outdoor leader.
Now, to answer your question, Mr. Zephania,
Mm-hmm.
let's not put, name tags.
Oh.
Remember, you are a leader who leads an organization in a building, or you are a leader who leads masses out there.
So, whether it's indoor or outdoor, you're a leader.
You are a leader.
Wow. That's impressive. Now, we are young people. You are a young person, but a very talented person in leadership and coaching. I am a young leader, but I find it hard to lead at times. Or maybe not hard to lead, but I find it hard to expose myself out there and say that I am a leader. I find it hard to take up the role and say, I am going to lead these people or other young people who are in my place. Why do you feel we as young people find it hard to take up the leadership positions? Is it that we fear we are not enough, we are not capable, or it's just in us?
Wow, that's great. I'll give you my real life story. So the first time I found myself given the opportunity to speak in front of people was when I was in Form 1.
Oh.
It was Form 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was given that opportunity to give a speech in front of our parents. I believe the parents had come to school. Mark you me, I went in front and I started trembling as if I had malaria. Trickles would just go and find themselves down my face. It took a moment before the parents and my fellow students clapped for me, and I was given a file to read my speech. I couldn't do that. With all honesty, I did not. I couldn't. I don't know where the strength went. I don't know where the words just eluded me. Words eluded me. I couldn't. This was on a Tuesday. I still remember the day very well.
Most likely even the time.
Actually, it was on 14th. I still remember the date as well.
Wow.
Now, the next day when we were in the parade, guess what happened? The deputy principal decided to call me in front of the parade to just applaud what I did. And I was like, oh boy, what did I do?
So they uploaded you for shaking.
And it's funny because I later came to learn 2 years later that he had seen a potential in me that I hadn't seen myself. So for you as a person, for me as a person, there's something called self-awareness.
Oh.
What does it mean? You're aware of yourself. You're aware of what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Now, there's this thing we shall call the iceberg model. What does it mean? It's the story of the Titanic, whereby the ship sank because it hit an iceberg that they could only see 20% of it on top of the ocean. But 80% was below.
Someone.
It was submerged. So they couldn't see that. You as a person, there are some beliefs. There is how your mindset is. There is the culture, what we call nature and nurture. How you are brought up from a child to where you are right now. How you were influenced by the people you met in terms of your school life from primary, high school, university, and also the interaction that you had. They subconsciously influence how you show up as a leader. I gave you one example when we started of how I was brought up in a police camp, and I used to see the policemen saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. Oh boy. In where I was working, the first time where I was employed, whenever my supervisor used to give me anything to do, I bet you can guess what my answer was.
Yes, sir.
It did not matter if I was doing anything else. But what really happened after that? Instead of getting out of my job place at 5, I'd extend to around 8 or 9 because I'd have to finish my workload and also do the workload that I was given by my supervisor.
Yes,
because
sir.
I said what?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it didn't matter if there was something else I was working for. It didn't matter if I was exhausted. I knew so long as you're a supervisor, the answer is just one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and that is now what we call self-awareness. Once you are self-aware of yourself, you know very well that I'm quite good at doing this. I'm quite good at organizing, I'm quite good at just bringing structure to something. I'm quite good at mobilizing people. Those are what you call our strengths.
Yeah.
You know they are there and they influence who you are. On the other end, you're finding trouble doing some other things. For example, you're having trouble reminding people each and every time you need to do this. For you believe once you've told somebody, we need to meet 18th March at 5 p.m., that is it. The person will take an initiative, put it in a calendar or somewhere, but 18th March will be meeting. You won't be reminding that person. Yeah. But we have people who need to be reminded. You get? Or maybe you yourself, it will elude and you won't remember that you need to be there. So once you're self-aware about yourself, you will realize that there are things you have strength in And there are things, I don't call them weaknesses, I call them growth areas. There are things that you need growth areas with. Now, that is whereby I told you when you are influencing people for a similar goal, you know these things that are my growth areas, Zephaniah is good at it. I go and tell Zephaniah what support I need to ensure that this goal is achieved. I go and tell somebody else, I know I'm not good at structure, kindly help me come up with this structure, I'll do the MC that day. You get?
Yeah.
So once you're self-aware of these things, you'll be able to know what you're capable of handling and what you will need to delegate to the other people in your team because you're focusing on the same goal.
Nice. Thank you. Hold that thought there. We're going to have a break. Welcome back. Mr. Kasuti, if I got to write on the self-awareness part, assuming I've been self-aware, I know where I can lead, I know I can do well in this particular position and I cannot do very well in this other particular situation. Now, there are challenges that will arise and face me as a young leader. And sometimes these challenges might go even beyond what I can handle as a person or as a leader. Now, what would you advise the young people out here to do? Do we run away from the challenges or do we now face the challenges head on?
Thank you, Zeph. Yeah, we call those the growth areas, things that are making it, we feel that it's hard to do something because they are the stumbling blocks. But yes, you realize that if there's a stumbling block in front of you, there are ways you can decide to either maneuver around or jump through that block. All right? So yeah, there are some ways we as young leaders can manage these challenges. Number one is, acceptance. You acknowledge that this is my growth area, and now you're willing to learn. You don't shoot yourself and say, because I'm a leader, I don't need to show any weakness around, Most of us usually feel like when people see our weakness, it's like they have seen our nakedness. We have undressed in front of them. So we feel shy, we feel vulnerable, or we feel unwanted if that happened. But that is surely not the case. I'll use an example of a leader in a work setting. Okay? This work doesn't necessarily mean where you're employed, but it's something that you're doing. So how can you overcome these challenges? Number one is take one thing at a time. Start small.
A step at a time.
A step at a time. You want to eat the whole ugali. Start with one bite.
Otherwise.
Yeah, because maybe that block it's coming because you're seeing something as a wall. You're forgetting that you can break it into tiny, manageable pieces. The other thing is you can decide to have a journal for yourself. This journal will help you keep track of, I'm good at doing ABCD, I'm finding it hard doing XYZ. Now, what will I do to ensure that ABCD is excellent? And what will I do to ensure that the XYZ, I look for ways to learn and grow out of it? What are these ways? It can be something simple like enrolling in an online class or looking for a mentor, someone who has gone through that episode. So you're trying to echo, shadow, and walk through their footsteps.
Yeah.
Another instance is, you can also decide to look for a coach. We have leadership coaches out here.
I get where you're going.
Yeah, so they'll be able to partner with you. The interesting thing is that they will partner with you through that journey. for you to be self-aware and know where the growth areas are and how to actualize them. I'll give you 5 steps that you can easily follow, and it will enable you be the best leader you can ever be. Number 1, you as a leader, you need to listen actively. What does it mean to listen actively? The people you're leading out there, when they speak, give them the opportunity to finish what they're saying.
Okay.
Don't cut them short. Pause. Listen to hear and understand and not to respond. Have you ever found yourself in a situation whereby you're saying something and before you finish, somebody has jumped up with an answer to what you're saying?
And you've not even finished.
And you haven't even finished. Nilienda kula. Mtu ashasema kulala. It means yes. I went to sleep, but maybe your kula, it meant you went to eat. So somebody just jumps into a conversation without finishing. Number 1, it's a sign of disrespect, with all honesty. Because you haven't given that person an opportunity to finish what they're saying. And it makes us have a prejudgmental mindset because you will answer based on your perspective and not really what the person meant. So that is number 1.
So is that the same as saying you are putting words in my mouth? Okay.
It can be that way, The other thing is the opportunity to just reflect. Take a step back and ask yourself, this thing that I want to do, or this thing that the team want to do, is it focusing on the larger goal or my own blinded goal right here? Because maybe for you, you're seeing tomorrow, and there's another colleague who is seeing a month ahead. Without you reflecting, it will clog your mind to really actualize what you really want to. Number 3 is ask questions. And not just questions, but ask the right questions. Why? Who? We usually call them the 5 wives and 1 husband.
5 W's and 1 H.
Yes. Answering this, you asking these questions actually will bring a very comprehensive answer. Because you'll be focusing on all the scenarios at hand for you to go ahead with the thing that you want to do, It can be something simple as giving somebody an opportunity to fully express what they want to share, or looking at something from a different perspective than what you wanted to, okay? The other thing is just evoking awareness. So how do you evoke awareness? This could be from simple things like giving a composure of maintaining silence in conversation. You remember I said listen actively. So there's listening, and also there's an opportunity for you to evoke awareness by asking or paraphrasing questions. Maybe what you've spoken about, I've heard it from my own perspective. But it could be that that is not what you're trying to portray. You get it? So when I paraphrase that question and bring it back to you, it will now enable us to understand if we're on the same page, Is that really what you are trying to share? Now, it will give me an opportunity to now answer, knowing that I'm answering something that you try to pass across and not just something that is from my mind. And number 5 is actioning the way forward. From a meeting, from the things that you've talked through and spoken about, if they're not actioned, they might be just bogus words. They might just be bogus strategic alignment meetings that you're having because there is no next step. And these next steps need to be smart. They're specific, they're measurable, achievable, time bound, and realistic in nature. So when they're smart, it means that there will be accountability by when something is going to happen. It can be from you as a leader or from the people that you are in the same pact or group or community that you're trying to lead. So these are ways that a leader can achieve the challenges that faces in a daily scenario.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. You see, sitting here and listening to you feels like I'm in a coaching session. It feels like I'm in a coaching session. So, you've said for us as a leaders to manage or to face the challenges effectively and be able to solve them, there are 5 things that we need to do. And one of them is listening attentively. You've said about reflecting, taking a step back and asking myself, what did he really want to pass? Or why did he really think about it that way? Well, asking questions and asking, there you should have said asking the right questions. Because sometimes people ask you questions and as a leader you're like, wow, did you even have to did you have to ask that loudly? And then evoking or paraphrasing what the other person is saying. And the 5th one is having a way forward. It feels like we are in a communication class. It's the same for communication. When a leader is communicating or when someone is communicating, follow these steps so that you can be able to understand and to see clearly where the direction of this is heading. So thank you so much for the free coaching session.
I'll need to invoice that after this end of the session.
So, Mr. Kasuti, as we near the end of our session, sometimes we feel like the first phrase or the first time you say that leadership is not necessarily about positions. I don't want to paraphrase or misquote you, but I want to think about it this way. I might be a leader because I hold a position. That is inevitable.
Sure.
At every setting, there must be someone who's leading from the front, either a chairperson, a CEO, or any other title that they have. But then I want to feel, or I'm feeling like you're saying, there is another person who is a leader, but is not at the forefront. They don't have the spotlight shined on them, but they are leaders. They are among the group, but they are leaders. Would you elaborate that for us so that whoever is listening to us can feel like, even if I don't stand at the podium and say, I am the chairman, I am team leading this and this, whichever position you are or wherever you sit at the back or wherever, you can feel as a leader, as a young person.
Wow. There are a lot of examples I can use, and there are a lot of people that are coming onto my mind right now. But just to put it in a way that you can easily resonate, do you find yourself showing up whenever there's something that needs to be done? Maybe at your community, at your school, or even at your local church. Do you find yourself giving your all without necessarily being pushed? I'll give you an example of a young leader that I've lived to admire the agility, the confidence, and just the proactiveness that she's done. She's very young, born just yesterday, 1997. That's saying she's a Gen Z.
Okay.
The name is Malala
Yousafzai.
So you also
I
know
know
her.
that name.
So this is a young lady who was born and raised in Pakistan, a patriarchal society whereby the men are the one to say, the men are the one to set rules, and the men are the final say.
Whatever they say
That
goes.
is it. I know you can resonate with Taliban. But this young lady at 11 years old, she saw there was a challenge in the community where she was raised up. And that challenge was how the young girls were being denied basic rights like education, And it did not sit well with her. So what did she do? She decided to become an activist, but she didn't call or term herself activist Malala. No. She went ahead and decided to come up with an anonymous section in the BCC, whereby she was able to expose what really is happening in Pakistan with the young girls. This thing, it came to the limelight because people were now able to see what really is happening. At first, did people know it was Malala? Not really. But she saw there was a problem somewhere and thought of how to come up with solutions. A young girl, 11 years of age, couldn't go to the podium and say, I've seen this, I want this affected. She thought of what she could do in her own cocoon, and she resolved the anonymous BBC publication. It became a huge thing to the point that now people knew it was her and knew what she was trying to fight. Now imagine such a young girl, there was an attempted assassination
on her.
Really? She was so young, but whatever she did, it had an impact. To the point at 17 years of age, actually 2017, she won a Nobel Peace Prize of what she was doing. She's still young, barely 28 years, now has a foundation, Malala Foundation, which advocates for education and just the girl child, now not only in Pakistan, but also the neighboring countries. So this is just an example of someone who saw an opportunity and brought change and didn't matter of the title. For her, she knew, I have this potential, let me use the resources that I have to ensure that my voice is heard, not necessarily because I'll go to a podium and say, I am Malala, I have seen this, and I want this to be done.
Wow. I love the way you're giving an example of a really young person taking the initiative and saying, I've seen a problem and I'm going to provide a solution for this problem. And with that story, it evokes two sentimental things. And one of them is leadership is providing a solution. A leader provides a solution to a certain problem, whether it is a problem on, having straight queues, having a project done. If you're a leader, you're supposed, or we're looking at you to provide a solution for that. The second thing that it is evoking is I don't need to have a title and I don't need to have people knowing my name to provide that solution. So leadership at some point is about you as a person rising up and saying, I can and I will solve this. Wow. So at YMCA, we have this vision we're calling Vision 2030 for the YMCA. And the vision has different pillars. Among the pillars are community well-being. And I want to look at the leadership aspect of young people as empowering the community and the well-being of the community. Because there is this saying that says, it's a Kikuyu proverb, but I want to translate it and say, they say, whenever the leader is lame, then the followers never get to the destination. So this is, if you want to cut them from getting to the destination, just capture the leader and make him or her lame. Now, in the community well-being, we need leaders. How do we as young people take up these roles and make sure that the well-being of the community is well served, and we are able to lead the community as young as we are in the right way possible.
Oh my. The example that you gave me, it's like a blind man leading a fellow blind man.
Ah.
You might easily fall into a ditch,
Together.
But when you're talking about being a powerful influence in your community, number one, just be authentic. What does it mean to be authentic? Be who you are, know where you are, and focus on number one, changing you, changing the place you come from before going outside. I can't be very open to welcome my friends from Rwanda or Tanzania or USA, and my fellow, clubmate or neighbor, I don't know even the name. I haven't called them for a cup of coffee, but I'm open to be hospitable to people from afar. That shall not the case. I can't go out and start cleaning, let's say Nairobi City, and the place where I live, these dustbins are just out there, there's nothing that I'm doing there. So once you've, number one, had self-awareness, so you know who you are. Number two, be authentic with where you come from, okay? So maybe you acknowledge the fact that I'm living in a place whereby we are having drug and substance abuse. Yeah? So what will you as a leader do? It might overwhelm you because it seems something hard. So what do you do about it? You can decide, number one, let me first go for a training. After the training, let me go for a TOT, train of trainers. And then I come and train people in my society so that I can be able to appreciate and help me change that place. You start there. You start from home before you go out. In terms of making the place clean, just let them emulate what you do. Let them see you cleaning that place. Let them see you planting a tree. When you're talking about education advocacy, let that school next to your residence know that you are a trainer. Go and mentor those kids. Go and influence them. You will realize that in terms of that influence and mentorship, you are also learning. Maybe one of your growth areas is you are afraid to stand in front of multitudes. They are little kids. They can't bite. So when you start from there, it will now be able to open doors for you.
Yeah.
You're authentic. You know this is the growth areas. You work on them. When you tell people I am an advocate, you can easily give an example of what you did in a small setup, and then it will give you an opportunity to also stand in a big setup. This is a way of not just speaking, not preaching water and taking wine, but you're actually speaking and living the talk.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. So, becoming a leader is first being able to lead yourself.
Service.
Wow.
A
Service.
leader is a servant.
So, before I serve others, I need to have served myself first. Wow. That then reminds me of, takes me to a proverb that I was told by one of my mentors. And my mentor said there are two things that he was referring to. And one of the things was a pipe with two open ends. And he said that if you connect that pipe to a running water tap and then you open that tap, water will run through that pipe. If you close the pipe or the tap, the water stops running. And if you remove the pipe, there will be no water left in the pipe. The second one was a ball. If you put a ball on a running tap and then you open the tap, water will fill the bowl fast and then overflow. So with that, he asked us a question. What do you think is the best in these two? And the answer was quite nice. We thought it was a pipe. But then the answer was the ball, because it fills itself first before giving out. Wow. That was impressive. So, Mr. Kasuti, as we are going to wrap this up, what is your advice to young people who want to be leaders, or to young people who don't believe in themselves as leaders?
First of all, I'll say, if you don't believe in you, who else will?
Oh.
It starts from within, And this notion of we are leaders of tomorrow must come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
There is no tomorrow if we can't lead today. There is no tomorrow if we just sit there back and say, this could have been done better, and there's nothing you're doing, Change is the only constant, and if you want change, it needs to start with you. So, go out there, look for ways to be self-aware. If it means doing these personality tests so that you can know your strengths and your growth areas, do it. If it means looking for a mentor to just push you and ensure that you actualize your dreams of becoming a leader, just do it. There is no tomorrow, and it needs to start now.
Wow. That was Benson Kasuti, leading us very well through the leadership. And his final word was, just do it. That was the PowerSpace Podcast. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. Till next time.
Thank you.